welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining me today. Today's project is a simple, easy, and fun one. Today we're going to be doing the Pixie Peek Sunnies Case from Serendipity Patterns. This one is going to be going over the fabric version. So the pattern has two different versions. It's going to have the fabric, which we're doing today, and the vinyl version, which I will be making a video sometime for that one if you need it. It's very easy. Just takes a little bit of fabric, so great scrap buster here. And you will need the flex frame for it. I did not have my sunglasses today, so I had a pair of safety glasses laying around here. So if they fit these bulky things, they will definitely fit your glasses or your sunglasses. In the video, I used cotton lycra fabric, which I would not recommend, especially if you're a beginner. I find this fabric really hard to sew because it has a stretch to it, especially on my Juki back here, because it's just a straight stitch machine. You probably have better luck on a regular sewing machine. You can do probably a zigzag stitch will probably be better if you're going to use this kind of fabric. But like I said, very quick, very easy. So let's get started. Let's go over the materials that we're going to need today. We're going to need 2 cuts of your exterior fabric. I'm using cotton lycra today for this one. 2 cuts of your interior fabric, your lining fabric. You're going to need 2 pieces for the casing. You're going to need a 100 millimeter or a 3.94 inch flex frame with the pin. You're going to need some pliers, a rotary cutter, or some scissors. You're going to need a marking pen, some clips, and you're going to need a cutting mat or a ruler, whichever one you prefer. You're also going to need to interface all these since we're doing it in fabric. I've already interfaced the back of all my pieces here with some woven interfacing, and also you're going to need 2 of the Fusible fleece, and it's going to be a little bit smaller than your fabric so that we have the seam allowance here, that we're not getting it bulked up with this Fusible fleece. And that's everything that we're going to need today. So let's go ahead and get all this together and take it to the sewing machine and start clipping and sewing. First thing we're going to be working with is going to be the casing for the top of the sunglass holders. So what we're wanting to do is we're going to lay it with the right side down, so we're looking at the back here. And we're going to take our ruler and we're going to measure 1/2 inch over. And we're going to make a line on this side. And then 1/2 inch on this side. Okay. So now that we have that marked, we're going to take the edge here. And we're going to fold the edge to meet the line that we just drew on there. Fold it over, and then we're going to fold it one more time so that the edge is rolled in there, and then we're going to clip it in place. So again, fold the edge to meet the line, and then we're going to fold it one more time, and the crease is going to go right there on that edge that we just made. Clip it in place. We're going to repeat that with this next one. So line it up, 1/2 inch, draw your line, 1/2 inch, draw your line, and we're going to fold again. Edge to the line, and then one more time. We're going to clip this in place, and we're going to repeat that one more time. Then we're going to take it over here to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance just to seal that up right there along each of the 4 sides here so that it doesn't come undone. Okay, and working with those pieces that we just clipped together, we're going to sew each side here at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Let's put it under our needle here. And remember to back stitch at the beginning and the end here. Okay, and you're going to repeat that for all 4 sides of both your pieces here. Alright, we got our sides sewn together here, so there's no raw edges. We're going to take these and we're going to fold them wrong sides together so your print is facing out, and we're going to take our exterior piece here and we're going to put this in the center. There should be probably about 1/2 inch on each side. Remember, if you have a directional print, you want it to go the right way. So one way I like to do is I'll put it up here and then I'll flip it up to see if it looks right when it's going to be flipped. So that looks good to me. So I'm going to try to get it in the middle here. And that looks pretty centered to me. So I'm going to clip that in place. Okay, same thing with the next one. So our next exterior fabric and our other casing, wrong sides together so that your print is facing out. Okay, see how that's going to look. That's upside down. Okay. So I'm going to center that here. Just come through a little bit. That looks pretty centered to me. I'm going to flip it in place here. Actually, I'm going to make that come over just a smidge. There. That's better. And my clip broke. Okay. Then we're going to base these on the top here. Going to go along at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and base these on here. I'm using cotton lycra and this stuff is not very cooperative. Got that stretch in it and it doesn't like to be sewn. I just happened to have this lying around, so I thought I'll just try it on this. I think it would work better with a regular cotton woven material as opposed to this stretchy fabric. But I had a ton of this stuff, so I thought I'd use it up. See, it keeps getting bunched up in there. Alright, let's move on to the next step now that we've got those sewn on there. For this next step, you're going to need your lining piece and that exterior piece that you just sewed the casing onto. And we're going to, let me trim this thread off here, get it out of the way. Going to lay your lining piece face up, so this is the right side facing us. We're going to take our exterior piece and lay it face down, so right sides together. We're going to line the top up here. I'm going to clip these together. So clipping right sides together. And I like to just go ahead and clip my sides here so it doesn't get all wonky on me. And we're going to sew along the top. So the top with the casing here, we're going to sew along the top at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Put you down here. Line it up to our 1/4 inch here. And remember to back stitch. And back stitch at the end here. Okay. Going to repeat that with the next one. Lining right side up, exterior with the casing, right side down. So right sides are together. Flip it together. Make sure everything is lined up here. And like I said, I like to clip my sides together so it doesn't get all shifted out of place on me. Again, we're going to take it to the machine and a 1/4 inch seam allowance again. And back stitch at the end. Trim our threads. Okay. Then we're going to turn it out like this. So you have your lining up top, your casing pushed down right here. Push your casing up against the lining, and we're going to top stitch right under this. So we're going to top stitch your exterior fabric. Make my stitch length a little longer here. And it's going to be, I have my zipper foot on. I never take my zipper foot off because I need it so much. And I just line the edge of my zipper foot up with the edge of the seam here and just go along the top. And we're going to repeat that for this one. So pushing everything up out of the way. Lining that foot up with the edge of my fabric here, the seam. We're just going to sew right across the top of our exterior fabric. If you can see how we top stitch that. So it's going to lay nice and flat when we go to put this together. Now for the last part here, well, one of the last parts, we're going to be putting this together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take both our pieces here and we're going to match up the lining with the lining and the exterior with the exterior. Okay. And we're going to be doing two different seam allowances. We're going to be doing 3/8 inch for the lining and a 1/4 inch for the exterior. And we have to be careful not to get this into our seams. So I think probably be better if you fold it up towards the exterior. We're going to experiment and see what happens here. Okay. So like I said, lining to lining. And we're also going to leave an opening, probably about a 3-inch or so opening on the side so that we can turn it, so we can turn our project out when we're done with this. Okay. So we're just going to clip along, make sure we got everything clipped here. Like I said, I think I want to turn these out. I think it'll go better for us if we do that. And we're going to line up, see if you can see that, line up the seams here as best we can. And on the other side, line up these seams. You can see that, so that it'll look even when we get it sewn together here. Tuck those in there so we don't get those caught up in our sewing here. Okay, now that we got that clipped together, we're going to sew along here. And if you want to use the green means go, red means stop trick, you can. So start here at 3/8 of a seam allowance, 3/8 inch seam allowance, sorry. And we're going to sew here. When we get to here, we're going to switch back to a 1/4, and we're going to sew all along here at 1/4 of an inch. Then we get to the lining, we're going to switch back to 3/8 of an inch and sew all the way along here, around here, and then we'll stop at our red one. So green means go, red means stop. Okay, so let's take it to the machine. Okay, we're at the machine. I did switch my green and red clips because it made more sense to go this way instead of that way. And I have this little tool here. I don't remember where I got it, but my sewing machine plate, it only goes 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and I don't like guessing for my 3/8, so I'm going to use this as a guide to put it on there. So what you do is you find the 3/8 on here with the little hole, and you line it up where your thread, bobbin thread, comes out, and then it comes with this little magnet. And oh, it keeps slipping. You're going to plop it on there like so. And now I have my 3/8 inch seam allowance set, and I can just line it up with the edge of that magnet. Okay, so putting this under my needle, set to 3/8 here. And don't forget to backstitch. Okay, and we're just going to sew around here. A little bit more. 3/8. Okay, we're coming up on the exterior, and so we want to make sure that we are not sewing this. We don't want to get that in there, so I'm going to flip it to the edge there. Get my awl here so I don't sew over my fingers. Okay, and we are going to transition here to 1/4 of an inch. And I can feel I didn't get that casing stuck in there. So now we're going to go around here at 1/4 of an inch. Like I said, this material is hard to sew. Oops. Okay, now we're coming back up on our lining, so we're going to transition back to the 3/8 over here. Make sure we're not getting our casing sewn in here. Take my awl. I'm going to go back here. And we're coming up on this last clip, so we're going to back stitch here. Okay. And trim our threads. Alright, now we should have something that looks like this. Okay? I'm going to back you up so you can see. Okay, now that you have it all sewn together here with your little opening, see our opening there, we're going to trim the corners. Be careful not to trim your thread there. Okay. Okay, now that we have all our corners trimmed, we're going to turn it right side out through this little hole that you should have left. Start by grabbing the exterior here and pulling it through the hole. Alright, at this point you can take whatever you can find to poke your points out with. I usually have a crochet hook, but I can't find it, so I'm going to use this little screwdriver. Just be careful you don't poke a hole in it when you do this. Okay, now you have all your corners poked out. We're going to go back and we're going to close this hole here. So you're going to tuck the raw edges, see? Tuck these raw edges in. Just like that. And you can hold them together, or you can stick a clip on there to make sure that they don't pop open while you get it over to the machine. And you're going to take it to the machine and you're going to sew just along the edge there at 1/8 of an inch, just enough to close that hole up. Remember to give it a little back stitch. So all the way down here to where it closes, and another little back stitch. And we'll trim our threads. Okay, now that you've got it closed up here, we are going to tuck the lining into the exterior here. Mush it down in there. Make sure you get the corners poked out in there. Now that we got it poked down in there, it's starting to look like a sunglass case. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the little springy thing up here. Okay. Okay, the last step is going to be putting your flex frame in. So one side of it's already clipped together and your pin's out. Your pin's right here. You're just going to feed each side into the sleeve here. Push it all the way through till it comes out the other side. There's one side. Okay. Push that fabric out of your way. Alright, and you're going to line up your holes here, and you're going to take the pin and you're going to slide it in there and push it all the way down. There's a pointy side. I think the pointy side goes down. So we're going to push it in there. See, it, focus you in here. It's all the way flat in there. And there's a little tab here. We're going to use our pliers to fold that tab down. Okay, so we're just going to mush the tab down. Like that, so that pin won't come out, and then you can arrange it back over there, and now it opens and closes. Alright y'all, I told you there wasn't that much to this pattern. It's very fast and easy and simple. This one actually is a little bit more involved than the vinyl pattern because you do have to interface so much stuff. And the vinyl one, you're only going to have to interface your lining. This pattern I love because if you do farmers markets or you're doing craft fairs, these are great to put out there for those low cost items, those impulse buys. You could probably get $10 to $12 for these. So a lot of people are looking for that, especially right now. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to do the pattern again for the vinyl. I'll do a video for that coming up soon. But yeah, if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. And also go check out the pattern at Serendipity Patterns. And again, the pattern is the Pixie Peek Sunnies Case. And all the pattern pieces and measurements are in that pattern for you. So I'll see you next time. Bye y'all.